piece of chalk and a chalkboard instead of a computer and internet and all the tools that a classroom teacher could use to really expand the teaching and learning experience in a classroom. To expand the coaching and learning experience on a soccer field, we have to provide the tools to the coaches that go to the coaching education. So the proper fields, portable goals, goals of different sizes, balls of different size and weight and shape that impacts ball skills, lots of other tools for coaches to use. And so this is part of providing facilities that impacts player development and the quality of the coaching. Budgeting and programming is obviously a big part, because if we're going to provide that environment, how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to develop our facilities? It might have to occur in phases, right? But we have to have a business plan. Not for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, short-term business plan, long-term business plan for the health of the club, so that our intent by having a good business plan is that the doors of our club are still open when today's 6-year-olds become the adults running the club 30 years from now. All right? Sort of a concept, an approach. What's our affiliations to a league, to other clubs, to the state association, et cetera, et cetera? What are our affiliations? What are our relationships with those other groups? That can even be like the city parks and rec department, what have you. Okay? What are our relationships? History and tradition of the club. In some places, the club is old. There's a club, Beetling Soccer Club in Pittsburgh. It's 140 years old. Started 140 years ago in Pittsburgh. Right? Some of their history and tradition hurts them because they're locked into the past sometimes, and the game continues to evolve. Some clubs are so young, they haven't yet developed their history. So maybe that's not, what do we want our traditions to be? If we're a young enough club, maybe we can set some of our traditions. That when today's 6-year-olds are the 36-year-olds in 30 years and inherit the club, what are the traditions that we've given them, that we've laid the foundation them to have? All right? The club in turn is impacted by the quality of the league, the size of the state, where's competition, the size of the region. You're in the biggest region in the country, Region 4. So you've got the most travel to do potentially when you get up to the travel level to be able to have out-of-state competition. As opposed to Region 1, which is the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, things are pretty close to one another to be able to travel and get that variety of competition. So you just have to plan on that. That comes into my budgeting, because I know that my travel budget is going to be higher because of the distances that I have to go within my state, within my region, this sort of thing. Okay? So a club is impacted by what it can do, what it can and cannot do by geography, the population of the area, the population of the state, therefore the soccer population. California, you're never going to be able to match, you'll never ever be able to match California. And a lot of the things that they can do, because they've got 25 million people living in the state. And those are the ones that are counted. Okay? And Utah doesn't have 25 million people to therefore have a bigger soccer population. Right? The bigger the state population, therefore the bigger the soccer population. This means I live in Dallas. In the metroplex of Dallas, there's 5 million people. That means there's 120,000 players. Now in Texas, in North Texas, there's 140,000 players. 110,000 of them live in the metroplex. Right? So there's 110,000 players in that one community, that one metropolitan area. That means every weekend your team has a competitive match somewhere because of the volume involved. Okay? Only population allows that. Okay? To a great extent. So there's all of these things that impact, okay, some of the things that a club can or cannot do. Okay? Here's just an example of laying out fields in terms of the training environment and how I can subdivide a full-size field, have a lot of different training activities going on, either splitting up an age group or have several age groups or several teams in there. For a club, what are some of the extracurricular things that the club offers? You do top soccer, as I understand it. Want to expand that. As a club, there's a whole other segment of our at-large community that we should be offering opportunities to the disabled, which is the top soccer program is for disabled players. So for a club to grow in its registration, there's a segment of your community to tap into, offer something for the disabled players. Soccer Starters, actually, I need to change the slide a little bit because that's actually a new logo. That's a new logo. This is now actually called Soccer Across America. And Soccer Across America is about growing the sport, taking soccer to places where it doesn't exist currently. Right? That could be an inner city community. It could be different ethnic groups within a community, African American. It could be taken into different places that it doesn't exist. Native American reservations, Asian American groups, tying in, pulling in groups that already are tied to the game but aren't tied to the mainstream of soccer. So that could be like the Caribbean American community, that Jamaicans and Haitians and so forth already play soccer. Right? Get them involved if they're not already involved. They have a growing and growing and growing Hispanic population. You don't need to introduce them to soccer. Right? They already know the sport. We need to get them playing mainstream soccer with us. So it's where do we grow the game is the idea there. In some cases, it's with people that already have a connection to the sport. In some places, it's going in, you're going, this is a ball. We go that way this half, that way the next half. Let's play. And you start from absolute scratch and work your way up from that because they have no connection to the sport at all. For a club, particularly for its elite players, the team players in particular, do we do things like speed training? Do we teach running mechanics from U6 on? Do we teach jumping mechanics from U6 on? Okay? Not plyometrics, how to jump and land, okay? How to run the proper swing of the arms and the legs, these sort of things. People think the kids got to run naturally. Not totally. Okay? You can always refine and improve, mechanics. Okay? Mental skills training is one of the things I talk about. It's interesting to me that we lead the world in sports psychology research, and we use it the least. You all know what visualization is. How many of you teach visualization to your players as a regular part of your training environment? Okay? We know about it, but we don't actually teach it like we do the push, pass, and get physically fit. Right? So mental skills training. Fitness testing, again, with my older players. The only thing I ever have to say here is, when you begin to do fitness testing, don't do testing merely for the sake of testing. Testing has to have an outcome in terms of it's going to help me with that individual player to improve his or her fitness in a particular area. And again, that's going to be more appropriate, the fitness testing and fitness program, with my adolescent players. I can begin to do some of it with my pubescent players. But just knowing that physiologically a real fitness program has its best physiological impact roughly age 14, 15, 16 on up. Okay? Then for the club, other things that we do that makes it a club. A lot of our organizations are just an association of teams. They just happen to register at the same place. They don't always have the same color uniforms. They don't have the curriculum that's going throughout. They don't have a lot of the same events going on that they're all connected to. A club connects us from top to bottom. So a club is not just the soccer experience. I think our clubs have the opportunity to evolve also to a little bit of a social group. All of those moms and dads that are in all of those lawn chairs on the side of the field develop all these social connections with each other. Let's expand on that. Make something as a club, make something a little bit more formal out of it. All of the U10 parents are invited to the U10 parent dance. Okay? U10 parent barbecue. Whatever you want to do. Okay? There's all kinds of things that you can do. That club that I was a part of in Baton Rouge, my Louisiana days, we had a crawfish boil full of the recreational coaches. So all of the volunteer coaches, one of the ways that the club said thank you was at the end of the year, they invited them out to the park and did a big crawfish boil, do a barbecue, do whatever you want, those types of things. Okay? Here's one of the ones that I picked up from a club in New Hampshire called Seacoast United. I think it's a great idea, and I talk about it all the time. They do the match of the week. So on Monday, it's posted up on their website. The match of the week within our club this week are the U7 Tigers play at 10 o'clock on Field 3. And everybody in the club that can make it goes and watches that match. And next week is the under-17 team on Field 11, okay, at noon. And everybody goes as much as they can within the club to go watch that match. And so now you get this camaraderie and this connection within the teams within the club. Because usually what happens at most of our clubs is As soon as my team is done playing, we're gone. We're out of there. We don't hang around and watch another team within our own club play, okay, and cheer for them and support for them. This is one of the things that high school soccer has hands down over club soccer, is the fan support, the emotional support, the connection, right, to make it an atmosphere, an exciting, right, dynamic for the players. So there's an idea. So finally, I'll throw this out for the board of directors, for the team managers, for the coaches sometimes, but mostly for the board of directors. Here's the decision-making formula. Impacted my first decision, every decision we make, how does it impact the players? First thought that comes to my mind, how does the decision that we're making impact the players? Some things are a little bit more straightforward. Well, we're deciding between insurance plan A or B. Well, still has that impact, right? But things like we're hosting a tournament, should we kick off at 6:30 in the morning? Well, how does that impact the players, right? All of the decision-making process. Based second upon the impact on the team. Based next on the impact upon the club as a whole. And then finally, based on logistics and the family, right? But if we had more of our decision makers at the club level, state level, league level, national level, making their decisions based predominantly on what's the impact upon the player, I think a lot more quality decisions would be made. It's not that all of the decisions we're making now are off target. They're not. There's a lot of very good decisions being made by our soccer leaders. But there's some of them that if we thought a little bit more about what's this doing to the players, okay, we would be making some impact upon that whole soccer experience that I hit upon at the very beginning of improving the soccer experience for all of our participants. So just a thought here for you from Coach Paterno. And I think this is a very important one. I won't read it to you. You can read it. Perhaps you can read it. Can you guys read that? Your eyes are better than mine. Okay. And as you go through it, here's the gist of the message. Always as a team, as a club, be striving towards excellence. If we strive continually towards excellence, and we have a mindset within our organization of excellence, then success is the outcome of excellence. Success is winning matches. Success is retaining players, retaining coaches. Success is collecting trophies. But success is largely out of your direct control. I might be playing for that trophy, but two of my kids got food poisoning the night before the final match. Okay? Two of my starters. The field's completely in mud, and we're a team that plays very well on the ground. Well, now that's out, right? Because of the field and weather conditions. All these things that we have no control over as the coach or the player impact success. If we're always striving towards excellence, doing the best that we can in our programming within the club, the development of our facilities, the continuing education of our personnel, continuing education for the parents, continuing development and education for the administrators and the coaches, okay? Then our continuing strive towards improving our facilities, etc., etc. All that coming into this mindset of we're striving towards excellence, then you get good outcome of that. You'll get good fallout from that. You'll wind up attracting more like-minded people into your club as parents, as players, as coaches, as team managers, as club board of directors. When you set that environment, set that tone, people want to be a part of that because when you're striving towards excellence, it has a positive vibe to it. It has an energetic vibe to it. And people pick up on that and want to be a part of that. Right? And then within that, you probably will wind up in the long run, wind up winning more often than you lose. Okay? So outcome is probably part of excellence. But if you're not striving towards excellence, your chances of the outcome are really diminished a great deal. I think that's it for right now. I think we're probably gone over by an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours.